All right, welcome back. This is Module 2 of the Funding Deals Using Other People's Money course. We're going to be talking about house hacking. Now, I think house hacking is a very popular idea. I think it's what most people think of, at least what most uneducated investors think of when they think of fixing and flipping. And I want to talk about house hacking. We're going to cover some of the pros or cons. And we're going to get into it and bust some myths and talk about reasons why it's good and reasons why it's bad. So before we dive in, as in every module that you guys have seen in our education, we need to give you a disclosure. I am not a licensed attorney, accountant, financial advisor, broker, or any other licensed individual. I am just a student, just like you. I've just had a lot of success with some of the strategies I'm sharing with you, so keep that in mind as we dive in, but let's go ahead and get into some of the content. So, house hacking, let's talk about what that is. House hacking is the idea of, if you want to be a fix and flipper, you move into the house, you do a lot of the work yourself while you live there, and then once the house is nice, you sell it, and then you move on to the next house. And this is great for people who want to do real estate investing as more of a hobby, right? It's not going to make you a ton of money over time, but it's something that you can do if you want to be a fix and flipper very, I'm going to avoid using the word passively because it's an incredible amount of work, especially if you're doing all the construction yourself. It's just a lot of work. And it's really not a strategy that I like. It's a very employee mindset strategy. And by that, what I mean is, we were taught a certain set of things when we went to public education. And most people go to public education. So if you didn't, this may not apply to you. But for most of us, we were taught very specifically, go to school, get good grades so you can get into a good college and get a degree so you can get a job, right? And we were taught all the skills and all the ideas and all of the mindset that we needed to know to go get a job. But a lot of us, by nature of wanting to be an investor and wanting to be a business owner, we don't want jobs. That's not how we want to make our money. We want to go create our own dreams and map out our own future, and we want to do it on our own terms. So that requires a completely different mindset. And if you've read my book, Mindset to Millionaire, I talk deeply about the difference between what I call the employee mindset and the wealthy mindset. House hacking has a lot, it smells a lot like an employee mindset strategy. Now, if that's something that you want to do and you want to do fix and flips very passively, I'm not knocking it necessarily, but if fixing and flipping is something that you want to generate real wealth with, house hacking isn't going to cut it, because there's a few flaws with house hacking. If you want to make real money in fixing and flipping, you're going to have to do fixing and flipping at scale. That means do more than one deal at a time. That means have a flow of leads coming in, and we talk in great length about that in our Finding Off-Market Deals course, so check that out. But it doesn't create an opportunity for scale, and it takes a lot of time. And one of the main differences that I talk about between the employee mindset and the wealthy mindset is understanding that time is a more valuable currency than money. We weren't taught that way growing up. We weren't taught that way in public education. We were taught to trade our time for money because money is what we want, right? Well, the wealthy have a different mindset. Time is more valuable than money because time is a non-renewable resource. Once you spend it, you can't get it back. So we could be spending our time doing things that are going to allow us to scale our investing business, or we could be spending our time doubling as an amateur contractor. And that's why I don't necessarily prefer or really even like the house hacking strategy, because the whole idea around it is to, when we set up our example property of 123 Main Street in the last module, we talked about how these deals take 4 to 6 months. Sometimes they take longer, sometimes they're faster, but I try to shoot for somewhere between 4 to 6 months. And to make, the example we're using is a profit margin of $43,000. Again, that's going to be scalable based on the property that you're looking at and the area that you live in. So don't expect that number on every deal. That's just an example, but that's good money, right? And if we can do multiple at a time, 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time, that's really awesome money, especially if we're turning them around in 4 to 6 months. So that's where we start to build real wealth. And here's the problem with house hacking. I want you to try an experiment. I want you to talk to your significant other. Go to them in the night and say, "Hey, babe, I've got this new idea. I want to move our entire family into one of these, and we're gonna live there, and we're gonna fix it up while we live there. And by the time we get done with it, it's gonna be beautiful. But here's the thing." Just as soon as it gets beautiful, we're going to post it for sale, and then we're going to move into another one of these. And that's just going to be our life for the next, 15, 20, 25 years. What do you think? My guess is they're not going to be too excited about that, right? So, and more importantly, what ends up happening is the idea of moving every 4 to 6 months is a little bit ridiculous, right? That's not a sustainable model. And so what ends up happening is you end up stretching out that timeline, and the 4 months becomes 6 months, and the 6 months becomes 9 months, and the 9 months becomes 12 months. And, our example of 43,000, that's a really exciting number to think about making in 4 months. But, for a year where you have to work full time on the project because this is what it looks like, and you gotta, as quickly as you can, get it to a point where it's livable for you and your family. For 43 grand, that's not that that's like the average American income, right? So that's not that exciting of an idea. This is a business you have to scale. Now, the other reason I really dislike this strategy is because I like to do 5 to 7 fix and flips at a time. If I'm moving into each and every deal that I'm doing, then that means I can only do one at a time. That immediately caps my scale at 1, which means that I'm not going to be creating that velocity of money that I want in order to go out and do other investment strategies like rental properties or apartment buildings or Airbnbs or any of those other exciting strategies. So it's really going to slow down the process, and it's uncomfortable. I mean, who wants to live in a construction zone and work on that construction zone while they live there and then only make average American income at best over the course of a year? And you carry with it all the risks of maybe you'll make less, maybe you'll run into problems, maybe you'll run over budget and not make that much money, or maybe it's just a deal with a lower profit margin. That's a very real possibility as well. So I really don't like this strategy personally. However, you may have other goals in mind where this strategy makes sense for you, and that's why I wanted to cover it. So the pros is it's for the uneducated. You don't have to be too educated to go buy a house to move into, right? Get an agent, find a house that you can move into and start fixing it up while you live there. And it's easy to bootstrap. You can stretch that sucker out as long as you want to. You can live there for 10 years and fix it up over the course of 10 years and get some awesome equity and appreciation as you do that. So there are a few pros. The cons are it's slow, it's unscalable. A lot of times you're using your own money and your own credit, and it's just an unsustainable model if you really want to take being a real estate investor seriously. So hopefully that gave you some insight into house hacking. I know that was laced with a lot of my opinion, but I do want to be open and honest with you guys about what I've seen over my course of being a real estate investor. So take it for what it's worth, but that's house hacking for you. So that wraps up the house hacking module. We're going to start getting into some of the strategies that I use in order to fund fix and flips at scale. And we're going to talk about a lot of the different strategies around that. So next is Module 3. In Module 3 and Module 4, we're going to talk about debt. So stay tuned for Module 3. I will see you guys over there.